full 7,000 word script into a single message here, but I'll start a detailed continuous script based on your news and prediction angle, Prefecta, and you can ask me to continue, and I'll keep extending it part by part until it reaches your target link. Where automaticamente as a Prefecta, the Iraqi currency market opened the new week with cautious anticipation after the US dollar ended Sunday's trading session slightly higher in Baghdad while showing a mild decline in Erbil. Traders across exchange districts watched the final numbers closely because even small fluctuations around 153,000 dinars per $100 often signal deeper liquidity pressures rather than simple daily volatility. The survey from Shafaq News confirmed that trading in Baghdad's Al-Kifa and Al-Harithi exchanges settled at 152,700 dinars per $100, marginally above the previous session's 152,600 Prefecta. And although the numerical increase appears minor, many currency dealers interpreted it as evidence that demand for hard currency remains persistent. In the narrow alleys surrounding Al-Kifa, where money exchangers track the central bank auction outcomes minute by minute, shop owners reported a steady stream of customers. Importers purchasing consumer goods, especially electronics, food products, Prefecta, and construction materials were active buyers. The selling rate reached 150 dinars while buying prices stood at 152 to 150 dinars, creating a spread that reflected uncertainty about upcoming dollar supply. Her dealers explained that the market is currently driven less by speculation and from merchants who rely on dollars to pay foreign suppliers. Meanwhile, Erbil presented a different picture. The Kurdish region's foreign currency market showed a modest decline in the dollar's price, with selling prices around 152,400 dinars and buying at 152,350. Although the gap between buying and selling rates was unusually narrow, Prefecta, traders described the atmosphere as cautious rather than confident. Some exchange houses attributed the softer dollar to remittances entering the region and reduced short-term import orders following stock accumulation in previous weeks. Economists following Iraqi monetary trends suggested that the divergence between Baghdad and Erbil may continue in the coming days. Prefecta, the central bank's electronic platform for foreign transfers has tightened documentation requirements, slowing access to dollars for certain importers. As a result, Baghdad markets, which rely heavily on formal banking channels, experienced stronger upward pressure on the dollar whenever transfer approvals slow. Erbil, however, still benefits from informal trade routes and regional remittance flows, temporarily easing demand. Market participants believe the current level near 153,000 dinars is psychologically important. Whenever the exchange rate approaches or exceeds this threshold, public attention rises sharply. Citizens who remember past spikes tend to convert savings into dollars as a precaution. This behavior itself increases demand, reinforcing the upward trend. Several exchange dealers noted that even individuals without immediate travel or import needs have begun buying small amounts of dollars, simply to protect household savings against inflation. Analysts predict that short-term movement will depend heavily on the central bank's daily dollar sales volume. If auction supply remains stable and exceeds the recent average, the rate could stabilize or dip slightly below 152,500. However, any administrative delay, especially in approving import invoices, would likely push the street price toward 153,500 higher. Prefecta. Traders emphasize that the market is no longer reacting purely to oil prices, but to regulatory process governing access to foreign currency. The government is closely monitoring the situation because exchange rate stability directly affects food prices. Iraq imports a large portion of its consumer goods, including basic staples. The Dorzab Prefecta, when the dollar strengthens against the dinar, shopkeepers quickly adjust retail prices, sometimes within days. Officials worry that sustained increases could contribute to public dissatisfaction, particularly in urban areas where living costs have already risen over the past year. Financial observers also connect the recent movement to regional trade patterns. Neighboring markets in Iran and Turkey influence Iraqi currency flows. Cross-border merchants frequently purchase dollars in Baghdad and transport goods back into Iraq after converting currency abroad. When demand increases in these neighboring economies, Iraqi exchange shops experience heavier buying activity. Prefecta. Some dealers reported that resale for building materials and automotive parts may have contributed to the latest increase. Looking forward, forecasts for the coming weeks suggest moderate volatility rather than a sharp jump. Prefecta. The central bank is expected to maintain intervention through currency sale and monitoring of unauthorized transfers. Prefecta. Authorities have repeatedly stated that the official exchange policy remains stable and that reserves are sufficient. Economists generally agree that Iraq possesses strong foreign reserves due to oil revenue, meaning a long-term collapse of the dinar is unlikely. However, the difference between the official rate and the parallel market continues to shape daily trading behavior. Public perception will remain a key factor. If citizens believe the dollar will rise further, demand may intensify regardless of fundamentals. On the other hand, visible government action, such as increased dollar availability at banks or stricter enforcement against speculative trading, could calm the market. Some financial analysts predict a brief appreciation of the dinar later in the week if the central bank expands supply to exchange companies. In Erbil, traders expect relative stability. Because buying and selling rates that are nearly identical, it suggests balanced supply and demand. Unless Baghdad's rate climbs significantly, Erbil's market may hover between 152,200 and 152,500. However, if Baghdad exceeds 153,500, arbitrage traders may begin transferring dollars between cities, which could quickly equalize prices across the country. For businesses, the key concern is predictability. Prefecta. Importers payments weeks in advance, and sudden changes in the exchange rate affect profit margins. Many wholesalers have started pricing goods cautiously, adding small buffers to cover possible currency depreciation. This behavior indirectly contributes to inflation expectations among consumers. Another influencing factor is remittances from Iraqis working abroad. As the week progresses, prefecta. Increased remittance flows often strengthen the dinar temporarily because families receive foreign currency and convert part of it locally. Dealers say that if remittances rise ahead of seasonal spending periods, the dollar the dollar may ease slightly in both Baghdad and Erbil. Overall, the immediate outlook suggests that the dollar will likely trade within a narrow band. Market projections indicate a probable range between 152-300 and 153-400 dinars per $100 over the next several sessions. Only a significant regulatory change or geopolitical development would push the rate outside that band. Traders remain alert for announcements related to banking compliance or international financial monitoring, as such measures have previously affected access to dollars. Citizens across Iraq continue to watch exchange boards outside currency shops, interpreting even small number changes as signals of economic direction. Prefecta, the modest rise in Baghdad and slight dip in Erbil reflect a market balancing official intervention with real economic demand. As the new trading week unfolds, stability rather than dramatic movement appears to be the most likely scenario, yet the persistence of strong dollar demand suggests underlying pressures remain.